Welcome back to the Attorney Sekou podcast where law meets life. Journeys turn into stories and stories create legends. We have an exciting episode for you. It's 2025 in the United States where we have the NFL draft and also the Pope draft. Super dramatic. So let's get into it. All right, so we have this amazing episode for you. We had the NFL draft this weekend where Colorado's QB, Shador Sanders, was pranked into thinking that he was elected the Pope. Well, no, actually, he was supposed to be the first round, but somehow he slid down to the fifth round, and that has created a lot of drama. Was it an intentional act? Was it a prank on him, even though he did get a prank call? But what does that all mean? I mean, can NFL owners really, quote unquote, sabotage somebody in their draft position? Or, as some critics would say, he wasn't that good to be in the first round. So we will never know. But other teams have spoken. And guess what? The Vatican just drafted its first American Pope. We have Chicago's own Leo XIV. And let's just say, his scouting report is extremely spicy, right? Born and raised in Chicago. He also went to Villanova. And guess what? He has it in his background. Yes, there has been cover-ups of abuse on boys. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the Catholic Church has to endure these type of cover-ups. But it's back. It's in his scouting report, along with him saying, who am I to judge, right? And that's aligned now with a lot of leaders, right? Where they don't take accountability. They pass the buck to somebody else. But let's see if Pope Leo, if he's going to beat all the odds, if he's going to be different, is he going to be inclusive or too inclusive? Because there are some in the Catholic arena, there's some in the Christian arena that say, hey, we don't want the church to be too inclusive. But this Pope has said that, hey, the LGBT community is welcome to worship just like anybody else. So you're going to have your opinion. But guess what? Pope Francis will have his say. And, we hope that there won't be much church scandals that is going to come with a side dish of Chicago pizza. But 1.4 billion Catholics are watching, and guess what? It's a very active group chat. If the Holy Spirit is a Bears fan, well, the Pope is from Chicago. Moving on to the next one, immigration. It is the topic of the year. It is continuous. It is nonstop. Americans still can't agree. Americans meaning the Americans in government, the Americans in Miami, the Americans in LA, they cannot agree how to fix immigration, right? The conservatives say it's an invasion. These people do not belong here. They're coming into our country. They're using our resources. We're letting in people who are rapists, are murderers. We need to get them out, right? But you also have the liberals who are saying no human is illegal. They all should have a place here. They're fleeing persecution, right? So it's the right side and the left side. And unless you're a billionaire avoiding taxes, then immigration is going to be playing extremely close to your heart. So some people are saying that immigration, right, it built America. And some people are saying that no, America created immigration. So it really depends on which side you are. It's an ongoing battle between the right and the left, and the American people just not understanding what an immigrant has to go through. The only American that will understand what an immigrant has to go through is the one who has married an immigrant and have to hear the problems that they have had. And guess what? President Trump married an immigrant, so I'm sure he has heard the problems that immigrants do go through. So let's keep it real, right? And As immigration has unfolded, we have seen under the Trump regime, the border crossings have dropped to 178 a day, which is either a miracle or aliens are getting better at hiding and getting over that fence. And some people are saying that the Biden compassionate plans that led to chaos, Trump's wall led to lawsuits. Can we just outsource all of these problems to Canada? No, Canada does not want any of these problems that America has. So what's the economic reality check of immigration, right? Sure, immigrants may strain public services, but who's picking the avocados, right? Who's building your houses and delivering your DoorDash at 2 a.m.? It's definitely not Elon Musk for sure. It is a 75% chance that it will be an immigrant. And America, you have to understand, right? If you see five people, if there's five people that you interact with on a professional level as you go to your day-to-day job, as you go to the grocery store, as you go to the hospital, you will interact with an immigrant that is facing scrutiny. But the problem is that American is saying, oh yeah, they're fine, but if they're illegal, get them out. The problem with the execution of the new immigration laws is that because there have been so much fast-paced changes, the people who are executing these new immigration laws, they do not have the sensitivity to understand, is this person illegal or is this person legal? And by the way, what is legal or what is illegal? Because you still have green card holders that are now in fear. You still have naturalized US citizens that are getting deported. You do have naturalized citizens who, when they re-enter the US, they are now going to secondary inspection. So what is really going on with immigration? We're still trying to figure it out. I still 100% believe that there needs to be some type of policy that is reasonable, that it accounts for the immigrants that have been here for 5-10 years, that do not have a criminal history, that are trying to do right by the American people, that just want to have their slice of the American dream. And I know there's this American that's going to comment and say, well, they should have come in legally and joined the line just like everybody else. But guess what? America, they created the system for asylum, for refugees, right? You know the Statue of Liberty, right? It says, bring your poor, bring your sick. That is why they come. So there has to be some type of process. No, we're not asking for an open border. Nobody wants open border. Me personally, I definitely would not want that. But there has to be some type of system for the people that are already here. You can't just remove 11 million people who have integrated their lives into the American system. That will affect you. It will affect the schools. It will affect the kids at the school. It will affect the places that you worship. It will affect how you eat. Guess what? Somebody's picking those oranges, right? So it definitely needs to be resolved in a different way, because at the rate that these laws are changing and that they're detaining people, they are not executing a lot of these changes with immigration sensitivity. All right, so moving on to the next one. Guess what? Student loans are back. Yes, they are back. So Department of Education just hit the unpause button on student loan collections, right? I know it's been a sweet ride for my lawyers and the doctors who have those massive student loans and everybody else. It has been a sweet ride while those student loans, they have been on pause. And you know what? Nothing says economic recovery like crushing the millennials again. And, you know, starting May 5th, the federal government has said that defaulters get to relive that thrill of 3 a.m. where you will get that email that says your student loans are now due. And in all seriousness, what this means is people who have their accounts in default, there is the possibility that your wages can be garnished. So it's more serious. The federal government is coming for their money. And you know what? If you go ghost on anyone, it should not be your student loan service, because guess what? Biden forgave some loans. Trump restarted these collections. This is the only bipartisan policy left in America. Unfortunately, student loans, They are back, and you need to be prepared. So, Trump's 100 days came to an end. What was his scorecard? Stay tuned for the next episode. All right, welcome back. And finally, we have two amazing guests. For the first time, we have two brothers here that are actually serial entrepreneurs. Chris and Michael, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
brother.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. So I see Grizzly on the hat. Grizzly is the brand. So let's jump straight into it. What is Grizzly? What is your brand?
Well,
You want me to tell them how it started?
yeah, because it's kind of still being born, kind of.
Still developing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is still
So
developing.
Grizzly was an idea that my wife and I had. We went to it was actually last year. We went to I don't know what you call that, a seminar, a conference.
It was the Limitless
It
event.
was
right?
It's called the Limitless event. So it's a lot of motivational speakers, and I've always been against that. Always, I don't know, something about
Motivational speakers?
Yeah. I was never really into that. I thought I could do everything myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I almost felt like I don't need a man to motivate me. I can motivate myself.
Mm-hmm.
And another partner that I have in another business convinced me
Yeah.
to go to the event.
Yeah.
So I go to the event and I tell everybody, if you used to think like me, change your mindset
Yeah.
because you don't know everything, and
Yeah.
there's always
Exactly.
room for growth and learning.
Absolutely.
So I got out of that event. It was a 3-day event. Came out of there super motivated, and landed in Florida. It was in I think it was in Utah. Landed in Florida with my wife. We stopped at the first place we could get something to eat, have a cocktail. Pulled out a notebook and just started writing.
Yeah.
And came up with the idea. Our last name is De La Osa.
Mm-hmm.
When you translate that, it means from the bear.
Yeah.
So we created Grizzly. We were going to do a podcast, and
We did.
We did a podcast.
We did maybe nine episodes.
Props to you because
Yeah.
it isn't easy.
No, it's not.
To be
Yeah.
consistent. It really
No.
is hard.
Yeah.
People don't know everything this
That
entails
goes on
behind the scenes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
So
there's a
we
lot
did
of
that.
big team.
And through that, we just that kind of took a different direction, and it went into social media marketing and things like that. I'm 38 years old. My brother's 10 years younger. He's 28. These guys, they have the phone in their hand.
Yeah.
I forget to take pictures. I suck at that.
That's probably
Yeah.
our biggest
so he
fight.
took over, and I mean, he's really blown it up, and I'm proud of him. He's taken off with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Grizzly, like it started off trying to get stories of entrepreneurship and figuring out we own a business together. It was our dad's, and we appreciated it, but we knew it wasn't a forever thing.
Yeah.
So
What kind of business was it?
It was auto glass.
Okay.
So we did.
That's big in Florida, right?
Yeah, and where we lived, we were the only ones really in the region that was doing it.
Mhm.
So
We
we
dominated.
dominated.
It was a big business.
Real proud of our dad for what he did. He came when he was what?
14. He came from Cuba.
14. He's been doing it since he was.
Dropped out of middle school. Never graduated high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
But very, very, very
Good.
smart. A lot of street smart, common sense,
Good with his
and
hands.
hard worker. Yeah.
So
Okay.
he passed the trade on to us, and I knew listening to other entrepreneurs on the podcast, I was like, well, learning different businesses, different avenues on how you can make money. It's not just what you know. So then listening, learning, paying attention to how other people came up, and I was like, well, most people with the cameras, they see you with the camera and their production, they're like, well, how can you help my business?
Mhm.
And it really started, the media marketing side started off trying to feed your team. Because
Okay.
podcasts, you don't really get paid.
Yeah.
Some people don't know that until you blow up, you know?
Exactly.
So
Yeah, but you got camera crews. You got this.
those guys
you
want to
need
get paid.
Yeah.
So we didn't have the funds to pay everybody, production, camera equipment, whatever. So we were trying to land jobs to get those guys paid for believing in us and pushing with us.
Mm.
But I didn't want to just take them for granted.
Well, you did that. That was all you.
Well, yeah, I felt bad. You know,
Yeah.
they never complained,
Okay.
but I still felt bad. So one thing turned to another, and we just started landing jobs. And then the videos went great, and people started asking for new ideas, new videos, and how can you make it better? And well, I mean, look at the studio. The studio is beautiful. Imagine doing it out of your garage, you know?
Yeah.
So we would tell them, you got to decorate. You got to put maybe a flower pot or, clean up your desk, get dressed better.
Yeah.
So then it turned into business development, remodeling, revamping, maybe rebranding. And
Okay.
so then right now, that's what we do
Okay. So under the Grizzly brand,
under Grizzly.
do you still have the auto glass or no? Or you sold that?
That's gone.
Oh, okay. So
We
that's
just
gone.
recently
So,
sold it.
That's gone.
okay. So you have the marketing company.
Yeah.
Right. And then what else?
Me, that's my main focus is Grizzly.
Okay.
That's
Grizzly.
my
Well,
main
you have
100%.
You have the supplements coming now.
So I
You've
partnered
got a
up.
lot of promotions coming up.
So I work with a lot of companies that ask for promotional, but the IV company that I teamed up with, they're strictly out of Miami, now that I'm moving to Orlando, I want to bring them to Orlando. So we team up with a lot of fighters, fight gyms, modeling agencies. So we're trying to go to Miami Swim Week. We're going to bring a fashion event over here. And then now I'm trying to develop with the IV company a supplement.
So it's like nonstop. I mean, so you're
just,
like the definition of a serial
Where were you
entrepreneur.
last week?
Last week we were in California for the
week before.
Last week was the A1 and UFC promotion fight in the Hard Rock of Sacramento.
Yeah.
And then we have a fighter that we sponsor, Mir Ali Husinov. He just got accepted into the UFC.
Nice.
Uriah Faber just accepted him into the UFC, and he did a full-blown interview right after he got, I think he did the first round knockout in under 2 minutes.
Wow.
Record for A1 Promotions. And then before that, we had a fighter out of Orlando, Bam Bam, at a Fusion XL gym. He was the first main card to fight in the island of St. Martin in a professional UFC.
I have a lot of clients out of Fusion gym.
Yeah. So we do him. The week before that, I don't even know. It's been a cloud.
Yeah.
But it has been moving a lot. Our traction has been pretty good with Grizzly. So
which the beauty of this duo is, like I told you, I'm 38, he's 28.
Okay.
I'm an older cat. I got 3 kids.
Yeah.
He can go and do more of the hustle and bustle, the traveling. So then Grizzly also owns 2 restaurants here.
Okay.
Well, half of 2 restaurants here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm more.
So you're in the restaurant business.
We're in everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, people say that the restaurant business is one of the riskiest businesses to get into, like next to hotels, right?
100%. 100%. But, and I have talking about the difference, like I was telling you earlier off camera, with the difference between people who, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Especially today with Instagram.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur.
Until it comes time to run payroll, right?
Yeah.
So I was matter of fact, just talking to a friend of mine the other day, has a big position within a big company here in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
High 6-figure salary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wants to be an entrepreneur. I said, just knowing your character, you're not an entrepreneur.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are you not an entrepreneur, you don't need to be. You don't have the motivation.
Don't take
the
it as
amount
disrespect.
of money you're making. No, it's never disrespect.
No.
I'm a very blunt, very honest person.
Yeah.
Especially if I love you and I want you to, not fail.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
You're not cut out for it. You would never take the risks that I take.
So hold on. So let's put a pin right there. So you're telling this guy that he's not cut out to be an entrepreneur.
Not at
all
all.
right. So tell us, in your framework, like based on your experiences, what would you identify as somebody who is cut out to be an entrepreneur?
First of all, you have to be willing to lose.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be ready to fail, and you have to be ready to lose it all.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that? Especially when you're a father, when you're a husband.
Mm-hmm.
It's even scarier.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go lose it all?
Yeah.
Can you do it? If you can't do it, you can't be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I can definitely agree with that. Like your risk appetite has to be so high.
And you're only gambling on yourself.
Exactly.
100%.
Most entrepreneurs are born out of pressure.
A lot of times.
A lot of it comes from external forces. Maybe you lost your job, you're about to lose your house. It takes me personally. I mean, he was born with that entrepreneurial instinct. I'm very comfortable. I'm very complacent. It took an extreme amount of pressure to get me to react and figure out what am I going to do. I don't have a degree. I mean, I went to school. I have an associate's in sports medicine.
Yeah.
But I didn't do anything with it.
Okay.
I know my trade, right? But I want more out of life. So what am I willing to do? What am I willing to risk? Well, I started Grizzly, and I would say I haven't had too crazy of a risk. I've been blessed with amazing opportunities. I have a good brother, a great brother that pushes me and believes in me and helps me open doors.
Yeah.
So I have a really good network, but it is still scary because, I sold my business. I'm in the process of selling my house. I mean, I'm trying to go.
It's a lot.
Balls to the wall, but not really.
Yeah.
So, but it is.
It all depends on how you look at it, right? But I'm 10 years older than him,
Yeah.
so I got to push him, and he doesn't see himself. I see him, so I believe in him.
Okay. So De La Osa, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It means grizzly. It's a strong Cuban name, right? And before you mentioned that your parents are first generation Cubans, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us one business negotiable, right, as having immigrant parents that you instill in your business.
Question again.
So I want for you to tell me that's one lesson from your parents, right? That is like a non-negotiable right now for you in business, like based on their immigrant journey.
A non-negotiable.
Yeah, for you that you instill in your business right now.
So
I got one.
I think the way that he just told you that entrepreneurship comes out of pressure.
Yeah.
When you come from another country and you have to succeed, I guess failure is not an option. That's not negotiable.
Okay.
You can't fail.
Yeah.
Because, like my father used to tell me, if I did it and I barely speak the language, you can definitely do it.
Absolutely.
You have no excuses.
Yeah.
So I think failures are non-negotiable.
Correct. Do you think today's entrepreneurs who are born in America, like, do you think they have it easier than, say, your parents did?
100%.
Absolutely.
In what way?
I have it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that, just the language barrier. The fact that, like we've talked about, our parents didn't know what 401ks were or life insurance or, anything like that. Stock market, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we just the fact that we grew up here, that we were born here, that we get to, socialize and talk and learn from different people. It's a major advantage that they didn't have.
Absolutely. When did you realize your hustle was about more than just money and it was about legacy?
When our dad died.
Yeah. Probably the loss of my father was definitely that. I've hit an age where when I was young, younger than him, because I've been an entrepreneur since I'm 19 or 20 years old. I've been hustling. But it was always about money.
Okay.
If you had told me that picking up dog poop made money, I'd go do it.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. Now I'm at an age where I want to do what I like.
Okay. So what made that shift for you?
Age and the loss of my old man.
Okay.
It just makes you realize that life is fragile and it can change in a second.
Why did that loss impact you so much?
It just made death very real.
Okay.
Especially we saw him.
Yeah.
We walked up and saw him. And it made that. It's not like in the movies. It's not like it's just very real. And then you come out and you see assets, because our dad loved assets. I don't know if it's because he came from a country where he didn't have anything, but he was very materialistic.
Yeah.
Well,
his boats, his trucks, his
down to the little things. So even food, like he would hate if you would leave food on the plate.
Right.
He would always tell you.
But you couldn't borrow. You couldn't. We didn't borrow. You couldn't even borrow a watch. You couldn't. So then you come out and you see the things stay there, and you're gone, and everything is just things.
It's stuff.
So there,
It's just stuff.
Okay.
He died early. He was 56.
Okay.
So one thing, the most valuable thing we have is time.
Absolutely.
Time.
We spend so much time working. As an entrepreneur, you spend so much time building. You lose a lot of time,
Absolutely.
I look at money as a tool that will grant me time. It grants me time to think. It grants me time to, if I don't feel like doing something today, I don't feel like doing it. It grants you the freedom of choice.
Correct.
Is what I'm looking for. And sadly, the only thing that grants that is money.
Okay. So based on what you've said, right? So you've experienced the loss. You've now experienced like the value of time, right? How has that shifted your mindset into how you approach entrepreneurship right now?
And doing what you love. You focus on, again, he's out now, networking, marketing. You're hanging out with people you like. That's another thing. I don't sit in circles. I used to.
Okay.
When I was young, I sat in circles with people I didn't like. I'd laugh at jokes that weren't funny.
Okay.
Now, if your joke ain't funny, I ain't laughing.
Yeah.
And if I don't like you, I'm getting off the table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't have time to hang out with people like that or to sacrifice like that.
No.
Because the time means so much more to you 100%. Right now. 100%.
Absolutely.
And you can still have fun building and working.
Yeah. And I feel like the universe will put you where you're supposed to spend your time. If you're sitting in a conversation that you don't feel like listening to, I don't think you're supposed to be there. I think you're forcing yourself into that situation.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Did you ever hit a wall where you realized that hard work was never enough, even though you saw your parents like work hard, but now you're in this generation? Has there ever been a moment where you just realized, man, like hard work isn't enough to where I want to go?
Yeah, that's why we sold that business that my father left.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because that was hard work that wasn't going to go anywhere. It was grown to a place where it was to max it out. You could have grown it bigger.
Yeah.
But then it would have taken other strains and other things but you're in an industry you don't enjoy.
Yeah.
So I'm appreciating the fact that I know how to do it, but it's not something I enjoy doing. So
you'll never go hungry.
Yeah.
When you learn a trade, I think learning a trade or knowing a trade is a good backup, almost like a side pistol.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, you should. I think the biggest asset in life is a strong network.
Absolutely.
Right. I can't be everywhere at once.
Correct.
right? But if you have genuine people that love you, believe in you, and want to grow with you, they're going to speak about you in places that you aren't. You have ears where your ears aren't.
Okay, so I have a good question for you, right? Since you're talking about people. In your journey as business owners now, right? Do you choose competence over loyalty?
Loyalty always.
Yeah?
Yeah, 100%.
But what would you say to the person who has like that one friend in their business who's been there from day one? They'll do anything for them, but they drop balls. They cost you money, and they're not assisting you with growing.
I think that's your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not using that tool the way it's supposed to be used.
Interesting.
Competence can be trained. Competence can be learned.
Okay.
Right. Loyalty.
And not only that, it's not just training, right? Because if you just suck at painting, no matter how much I teach you how to paint, you suck at painting. Let's find something. Maybe you can't paint, but you can nail baseboards.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And like that's the quality of a good leader, right?
Yeah.
In
100%.
terms of being able to identify the talent in that person, but also knowing where to place them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of businesses struggle with that, right? Because you can get the competent person in your business, right? But they're toxic, right? Or they don't align with your culture. But guess what? They know how to do that job that is bringing in money.
That's it.
So you sometimes have to make that choice, right?
I agree. But now you're talking, and I think you're talking more about growing a team of employees and things like that. When I talk about loyalty, I'm talking about the circle up top, the team.
Okay.
You know, an employee loyalty, I don't expect loyalty from an employee.
Okay.
No.
Why is that?
Up to a certain extent. Because at the end of the day, like I had, for example, I was an employee once at 21, making good money, had a great leader and mentor, but I wanted more. And within that team at that moment, it wasn't an opportunity for me. And he cut me loose in the sense of, if you have a better opportunity, and that's when I got into entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And went and did my own thing.
Yeah.
If you can go do something for yourself and make it better, go. I'm not going to hold you back.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Completely
So
understood.
loyalty in the sense of, as an employee, not because you're going to steal from me or anything like that, but if you find a better opportunity, absolutely go. If there's no room at my table right now for you to grow up here, then you got to go.
But the fact
and you can talk to me forever. We'll be friends and maybe one day in 10 years, an opportunity, which I've had as well, an opportunity will come and I'll tell you to come and join the table.
But that's a sense of loyalty.
It is loyalty, but when I'm talking about a loyalty like that, I'm talking about the team up top.
Yeah.
That's different because you're dealing with my money. You're on accounts with me. You know, that's a different type of loyalty and trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
All right, so tell me this. What's the most Cubano rule you have in your leadership playbook, right? Are you family first or La Lucha never stops?
I'm family first every time.
Yeah.
And when I say family, I mean blood and the team. If I call you family, you're family.
Why is that so important to you? Or is that you personally, or is that part of the Cuban culture?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I just feel it from the core of my heart. But
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely cultural. I mean, I think Cubans, well, now that you asked me the competence and loyalty thing, Cubans are very loyal to one another, even though there's a lot of history of, snitches, but there's a lot of loyalty that plays. And I think the family over everything, technically it's both. You luchas por tu familia. You know, you're always fighting. You're always trying to figure it out for your family, though.
Yeah.
So I think they both go hand in hand, me personally.
All right. So some say that immigrant businesses succeed out of desperation, right? Is that hunger an edge? Like, is it like an advantage or proof that the system failed others?
No, that's proof in the pudding. When you need to make it happen, it's going to happen. But then I think it goes watering down as you try to make your kids' lives easier. I think it's our fault that entrepreneurship kind of has been diluted because every generation gets it easier, right? So I think I'm speaking from not a parent, but from what my dad always told me. I got a nice truck, but it's my truck.
Yeah.
I have a nice watch. It's my watch.
Yeah.
You need to go figure your own stuff out.
Exactly.
I don't think most parents aren't doing that now. They
our
spoil.
Our dad was a little different.
Yeah, it was hard, but it comes from he
I have
needed
to
him.
catch myself with that sometimes too.
Yeah.
Because I want to give my kids things that I didn't have.
Yeah.
And then I got to retract because then I start seeing how they start acting and they're not going to be like me.
Yeah.
You know?
But there's a difference, right? Like with our parents, there's more of a scarcity mindset, right? Where like we can't spend as much, like we got to hold as much because we don't know where dollars will come from versus no, it's a growth mindset.
But you know what? My parents weren't like that.
Okay.
So we grew up total opposite.
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad was wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in the sense of, but then we dealt with the realities of it. And then our father didn't hide anything from us. So we go out. My dad always had, when we lived in Miami, we grew up in Miami. My dad always had boats and trucks. And we'd spend the weekend out on the boat and restaurants and the movies. And then I'd get home, let's say on a Wednesday. Yeah. And the light was cut at the house.
Yeah.
And I called my old man. I get home from middle school. Hey, Pop, the light's cut.
Yeah.
You didn't pay the bill? And he goes, no. How the hell do you think we went out this weekend? We spent all our money.
Yeah.
So then he taught me how to put the light on. And all kinds of illegal things like that.
Yeah.
But that's how I grew up. So I think that also gave me a form of risk because at the end of the day, I saw my dad live that way.
Yeah.
And he always accomplished and had everything he ever wanted.
Yeah.
And we never needed anything. So to me, it gives me my sense of risk too, because I could invest in a company, in a business, take a risk, put all my money out there, leave us with no money, and not be afraid of it because I know that the universe will, because I'm going to continue to hustle. I know next week I'll get another deposit and I'll have money again next week.
Exactly.
So that sense of hustle, my dad taught me that too, of not being afraid of just
it's a totally different
so
hustle.
I mean, when we talk about immigrants, I know what you're talking about because I have friends and stuff that grew up that way.
Yeah.
We weren't raised like that. My dad was wide open.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're talking about hustle, right? And obviously you've had successful business and you've been able to outmaneuver other businesses, right? With fewer resources, right?
Absolutely.
Here's a teachable moment that you can provide. Give us one specific strategy that you've used to punch above your weight class, right? Like something that our audience could apply this week in terms of a business strategy, growing their business, or just having an advantage.
Right now, I'm living off of by doing, you do.
Okay.
Sometimes we get stuck in trying to perfect what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to do this tomorrow at 9:30 and I'm going to make sure all my pens are aligned and this, that, and the other. And I think you psych yourself out and then you say, well, if your pens aren't aligned, then I'll just wait till tomorrow. Okay. And then tomorrow. I think just let go of the arrow.
Yeah.
By doing, you do. By getting things done, maybe it's not orthodox, right? But it's steps forward into progress.
But how do you take your first steps? Because I mean, most entrepreneurs that I talk to, right, the ones who are just starting out, they said, okay, they'll have the plan, they'll think it up, but
that's the first mistake.
They just can't get started.
But that's where they made the mistake.
I don't even plan.
I don't need a plan.
Okay.
I don't even plan. I mean,
sometimes
sometimes I'll sit back and you do need a plan to execute, but the initial first steps. Do you need a plan to go to a marketing mixer? No.
Yeah.
Just go. You never know, and then you also have to be open-minded. I was very closed-minded everywhere I go. If maybe I don't get along with someone, I wasn't very receptive. Now anywhere you go, you have no idea who someone is or what they can provide to you and what you can provide to them.
You're gonna meet.
You never know who you shake hands with. So I think just getting out there, going to the gym, going to a restaurant, going to a bar, and being open-minded to conversation with someone else. That's a step.
Being intentional, right?
100%.
Intentional. Yeah.
Obviously, being receptive.
You know what you want to do. You're an entrepreneur. What's your business?
Yeah.
That's your intent.
Exactly.
So you know what you're going out there to grow. But the people who sit there, it's like when I tell you go to a conference. I see that too. People become almost like people who go to school their whole life, and you become a professional student.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's like that. You'll see people that'll go to the conference and they never take off.
And they watch all the videos,
but they don't do
all
it.
the podcasts, buy all the books, but then there's no execution,
so that's the
right?
mistake. You just got to go do it.
So there's also the fear of no, right? How do you turn your no's into yeses or the no's into not yet?
Let me answer that. And I'm going to pull you into it.
Here we go.
So,
yeah.
How do you turn no into yes? I think a lot of times if you go and ask, you'll realize you'll get more yeses than no's.
Okay.
A lot of people psych themselves out thinking they're going to get a no. And you get a yes. And I'm telling you because this guy right here, one of his biggest talents is whoever you want to ask somebody for something, you want to get somebody on the phone, you want to call and you're embarrassed or you're shy to call, tell him to do it. Yeah. He'll do things and want to talk to people or get events done and things done in places that I'm like, Mike, you're crazy, man. They're not going to let you do that there. Okay, what are they going to say? No. He calls and, absolutely, come up for a meeting. And I'm like, you just got to ask.
Yeah.
So I think the no is you psyching yourself out. If you just try, you'll see you'll get more yeses than no's.
Yeah. And if you get a no, it's just a no. He's saying no right now. They're saying no right now. But if you ask tomorrow, It might be another no. If you ask the following day, it might be a yes.
So is your strategy being persistent?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Water doesn't erode a rock because of its force. It's its persistence. Consistency.
I love
You
that.
you definitely have to, well, I mean, eventually you're going to get no's.
Mhm.
They're inevitable. But a yes is inevitable as well. So just hurry up and knock out the no's and get to your yes.
Okay, so are you saying like the more times at bat, you're at some point going to get that home run?
Absolutely. It's inevitable. If the consistency that you're projecting out into the universe, you're going to evade out all the no's, you're going to hit that yes.
And I think that's the biggest challenge in sales
Yeah.
is the no's. Because I've had scenarios. I built a company in Virginia where I traveled a lot, and my days were hitting projects every day. I'd try to hit 12 or 13 projects a day. And I'd call my wife, I had a day where I had a lot of no's.
Yeah.
And I'd call my wife from the car. I'd be watching a podcast because I was just to procrastinate because I didn't want to get off to get the the fifth no. And I'd call my wife, who's also in sales, and she'd tell me, babe, just get off. Just do it. And I'd convince myself, I'd jump out, and I landed a $10,000 project. Boom.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I wouldn't have got out,
Yeah.
I'd have missed
You
that
wouldn't have
10
got-
grand.
yeah.
So
Have you ever gotten a no that just like really crippled you? Like where you were like, yeah, you know what, let me reevaluate.
no.
No.
But I think that's you. That's your self-confidence.
Yeah.
Mhm. Where do you get your confidence from?
Our mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Told-
dad?
She just
Mom?
said we were handsome all the time.
No, dad.
Like all good moms, right?
Yeah, man. And dad was just tough.
Yeah.
That
So I
was
think
tough.
Pops being tough.
He created insecurities
Yeah,
in me.
yeah.
When I never got
I don't know.
everybody look like as a son, you always look for the token of, good job.
Yeah, well, Pop,
Yeah.
he wasn't.
Never
that
did
guy.
that. I never
He
got
wasn't
that. So I guess that's where my
So was it like a tough love?
yes.
super.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were pushing to try to say, hey, dad, I can do it or I can do better?
100%.
Always.
100%. That's where I think my confidence and my push comes from because I'm chasing a pat on the back that I'll never get.
Mm.
So that's where my fuel is. I want that. I want that
And I
for
feel
myself.
like a lot of entrepreneurs have some type of chip on their shoulder that it's a constant chase, like either to fill the void where they don't feel enough, right? Or to fill the void that, I want this validation as well. I want this validation. I want the recognition, or I want to prove to somebody.
Yo, be honest with you, I think everybody has that.
Yeah,
I just think some people don't have the courage to go get it.
100%.
I think everybody has that.
Yeah,
You should.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know.
As a human, everybody has that.
I know some people will say, "No, I don't need validation from anybody." No,
That's not true.
I don't need it from any. So the
You need it
validation
from
that
your
I
family, you need it from your wife, you need it from your kids.
you do you do it gives you that little token of this is why I'm going.
That's right.
yeah.
But
And life's not easy.
it's
No,
not.
at all.
And the good thing about what helps me is I don't care what
That's
most
good.
people think, because the validation that I crave, I won't get.
Yeah.
I don't care what Joe Schmo or someone else. Oh my God, you did great. You blew up my business. Thank you. But that's not what I'm looking
Oh, you
for.
got a paycheck.
Yeah, you got a paycheck. Cool. Yeah. It gives you leeway in a negotiation.
Yeah.
But my fuel to leave something behind, Grizzly, for me
Mhm.
is something that it's in me.
And it's family.
It's family.
So on that point, right? Competition. How do you view competitors in your space?
I don't have any competitors. I have colleagues that I can learn from,
Okay.
but I don't compete with anybody. I compete with myself.
Okay.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't compete personally. So I read a book. I don't know if you're familiar with Patrick Bet-David,
No.
PBD. So he wrote a book. It's called Choose Your Enemies Wisely.
Okay.
Great book. And so I do compete. I'm not going to say that I don't. They don't even know I'm competing with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's friendly competition.
Mhm.
There's people, and if I compete with you, it's because I admire you and what
Okay.
you've accomplished. So I want to compete with you because I want to either do you or outdo you.
Yes.
And I learn from them, right? You can learn from them, from their mistakes, but it's not it's coming from a good place.
Absolutely.
It's from a place of where I think
It's not envious. It's not being naive. No.
That's different. It's man, as a man, I look at you and I'm like, man, that's because we're entrepreneurs, so we know how hard it is.
Yeah.
So when you see somebody who succeeds, I don't see the car, I see the struggle. I see
Mm-hmm.
the hustle. I see the hard work, the sleepless nights, the fear of
Yeah.
not having money.
The time.
That's what I see.
The
Yeah.
time. The
So
time.
I
the time
look at it and I
spent.
go, wow,
Yeah.
Okay.
that's
I
awesome.
like that.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
So your competitors almost inspire you.
Absolutely.
To be better.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. So war story. What's the dirtiest tactic a competitor has ever used against you? And how do you clap back?
Oh, calling the city to try to,
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
stupid things like
Stupid
that.
things.
Yeah. They call the city, call the state, get inspectors on you over certain things.
Yeah.
Bad mouth you.
Bad
But,
reviews?
yeah, no, not even. Well, bad reviews is a customer. That's different.
Yeah.
But
No, but-
a competitor, honestly, I think, if you don't play like that.
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, as a man,
Mm-hmm.
and this is just to me, one of to me, a man shouldn't gossip.
No.
Mm-hmm.
A man
I like that.
shouldn't badmouth other people.
Shouldn't
if you,
boast.
If you come to me to talk bad about somebody in our circle, I'll listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
I might answer you with, man, I've never seen that, but I'll look out.
Mhm.
But you're not gonna catch me. So competitors will badmouth you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna feed into
but
it.
people know who you are.
Yeah.
Mm.
So if somebody's badmouthing, immediately they're gonna look at it like, well, here comes so and so who
Mhm.
loves to talk crap about people.
Yeah.
He's talking about who? No,
Yeah.
man. That I've never heard Chris
Yeah.
or Mike talk like that.
No.
Let me look into that. But I've never. I think people who badmouth already have a reputation of
Yeah.
who they are,
Okay.
and people take them for the face value that they are. So
Yeah.
that doesn't
So
bother
how
me
do you
at all.
address that from just like a business standpoint?
I leave it alone.
You
I
just
don't
leave it
worry
alone?
about it.
Yeah.
I keep doing me.
Your
And the world sees
That's
it,
good.
and people know.
your character, your track record should be easily read. If you can't read it, then it's not meant for you to read.
Okay. All right. So did you ever nearly torch any type of relationship just to save your business?
Oh,
Torture relationship.
Because there's a mindset, right? That you don't burn bridges, right? But sometimes you can hold on to a relationship for too long
yes.
and it ends up inflaming on the inside.
Yes. So I remember we always give people, I hate to judge,
Mhm.
and I am quick to maybe pre-execute someone
Yeah.
based on my belief. So then I listen to him. He's kind of like my voice of reason, but then he also overextends the benefit of the doubt sometimes. So we have had some bad eggs in the group that we've held on to just because we love.
Mhm.
Because when we love you, like he said, we love you deeply. Even if if you're part of the family, if you're part of the business. If you're bad for me, sometimes I'll hold out too long,
Yeah.
and you burn your own bridge with me. I will never
That's
be the
so
one
true.
to burn the bridge.
Yeah.
If the bridge is never utilized, the gates closed, it's a bridge. But I would never burn a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about risk, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, go
When
ahead.
we talk about risk, the word risk is broad.
Very.
It's not just money.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not willing to take risks on people, you can't be an entrepreneur either.
1,000% well said. Yeah.
So you have to take risk on people.
Yeah.
Are you going to get burned? 100%. Are you going to get heartbroken? 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get heartbroken so many times and then you shut off to people, you're done being an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So-
And I'm so glad you made that point because a lot of times we see risk as just, are you going to lose money? Right.
So a lot of things you can lose.
Yeah, I mean, you can lose time, but you lose people,
Mhm.
and you do take a risk when you bring somebody into your team or
Absolutely.
into your circle, right?
Absolutely.
It's a huge risk.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
So, is it worse losing a client or disappointing your abuela?
I think disappointing my abuela is worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I can get another client. I only got one abuela.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
That's good.
Clients are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
only got one abuela, man.
Yeah.
All right. What's your, if you were to say your crowning moment right now as a businessman, what would it be?
Our crowning moment,
Yeah.
I think definitely buying into these 2 restaurants.
Nice.
So that's something that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
I met some beautiful people
Mm-hmm.
that we consider family,
Mm-hmm.
who are going to teach me, take the time to teach me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's that shift where I tell you now I'm going to do things that I do because I want to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I would say the fact that I'm able to take the opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
I think is a crowning moment for me.
Okay. And do you feel like it's crowning because it satisfies the young entrepreneur in you, or it's signifying like this other chapter of growth?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah,
Definitely both.
I think it's a cementing stamp in the right direction that we're going. So it's
Mhm.
almost like when you rock climb, you put the safety hook on the wall.
I like
I think it's a safety hook. You know, it's not that it's safe, but it's almost like it's solidified my journey into entrepreneurship. So now I have another stepping stone that I leave behind.
Okay.
So definitely having two, brick and mortar establishments in the middle of downtown Orlando, I
Yeah.
think is inspiring for me and him.
Absolutely.
And then just now that we don't live here yet,
Mhm.
but our names, our brand,
Yeah,
everywhere
what
we
we've
go-
done in Orlando in a year is pretty amazing.
well, not even a year.
Yes.
I mean, it's because
Yeah,
the
right.
podcast
9
started
months.
8 months,
Yeah.
but the
So-
brand didn't start till 6 months.
And for
You know,
me now at 38, I don't just think about me.
Mhm.
I think about him, who's 10 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about my kids.
Yeah.
So my daughter's 17.
Mhm.
She wants to be an attorney.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's a whiz. Not worried about her at all.
Yeah.
I know she's going to do great. My middle son's very smart too. Doesn't really know what he wants to do. His personality's not like mine. He's more. My little one is all me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like now I'm starting something where they can come in.
Mhm.
So now I'm not thinking just about me.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about my kids. I'm thinking about it's a lot of,
Yeah.
and it's an avenue where we want to grow an empire. It's not going to end
No.
with
No.
the 2 restaurants in downtown. That's
No,
just
absolutely.
the beginning. We're going to have a lot of places here in Orlando.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's La Familia.
La Familia.
That's how I
Yeah.
look at it. Right?
So 2 restaurants in downtown Orlando, right?
Yeah.
You've embarked on this journey. Is there any fear at all?
every day.
Yeah. What's
I don't have any.
yeah?
That's
What's the
where
biggest fear
this
for
is
you?
where we're different.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest fear for you?
Like everybody, the generic answer of failure.
Mhm.
But more so not because I failed. I just don't want to disappoint.
Okay.
Disappointment is my biggest fear.
Okay.
I don't want to disappoint him. I don't want to disappoint my wife. I don't want to disappoint my family or myself.
Yeah.
So I think disappointment is the biggest thing. Where I shot in the dark, I
Mhm.
don't want to miss.
Got it. And you?
No fear.
Yeah. And why is there no fear? It's like whatever happens, or you just know it's going to be great.
I know it's going to be great because I believe in who we are.
Yeah.
I know what we are. I know what we've done. Number one. And number two, because whatever happens, happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
There's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll do it all over again.
Yeah.
I think fear comes from a place where you try to control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that us humans have to understand. You're never really in control. The opportunities that are presented to you, they're not out of thin air. Everything is planned. Your entire life is
Yeah.
written down to a T.
Yeah.
So I think if you're not that if you're meant to fail, but if you're meant to fail, the opportunity wouldn't have presented itself in the first place.
Okay.
I think we ourselves create failure because, like we said earlier, you psych yourself out, you overthink, you don't take the opportunity when it comes to you. You say, "Well, let me wait, till I'm ready."
Right.
The opportunity when it's in front of you, it's because you are ready.
Nice.
So take it.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. So, what do you think about the rhetoric, right? Of man, just fail more times and you will eventually get to the type of success that you want.
I think that's stupid.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think if you're failing, it's because you're doing something wrong, and you're
Mhm.
not taking those failures as lessons. If you keep failing, are you not paying attention? Are you not
Okay.
learning?
But don't you have to take the risk in order to be able to fail first to
No,
get that lesson?
100%.
Yeah.
No, 100%. I mean, so I don't know, right? Failed. I'm going to remember where I failed.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
So failed. Every time I've ever failed,
Mm-hmm.
it was my fault.
Okay.
I failed.
In terms of a choice.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In mistakes, financial mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
bad investments, in people.
Yeah.
Damn, I should have cut that.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
And that's the worst one, right? Where you're like,
that's
I saw it
that's
and I ignored it
100%.
and it cost me.
And that's where also I pull in. I have an amazing wife
Mm-hmm.
who's another eye.
Yeah.
And she lets me run.
Yeah.
And I'm running. And she'll jump in and go, hey, there's a stone there. Oh,
Yeah,
I see a stone, baby. Okay. Sometimes she says, there's a stone there. Boom. And I trip all over the damn stone.
Yeah.
So when I failed, I have failed because I failed. I made a mistake somewhere. But I haven't really failed. I haven't really lost money like that.
Can we come to terms on what's your definition of failure?
I guess, right? I guess it depends.
What is a failure for you?
Not hitting the target, not meeting the expectations that you set out to achieve.
Did you hit the board?
I mean,
Get close to the target?
Something?
I mean,
Or did
yeah,
you just
I
shoot
mean,
up?
No, well, if you say, hey, I'm going to start this business for it to be profitable,
Okay.
Okay.
the business does not end up being profitable.
For how
At all.
long?
For 5 years.
Wow.
Maybe on 6 it'll be profitable.
Yeah.
I guess failure is on your timeline, right? But if, again, your time, it's not really your timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe try a little bit more. Maybe try a different avenue.
Different strategy, right?
Yeah.
strategy.
I don't think, if you look at something as a failure, I think it's because you gave up.
I think it's a success too, honestly.
Yeah. And
'Cause you
I mean,
learn
there's
from
no right answer. I feel like the definition of failure
It's personal.
is unique
It's
to the
personal.
person
Absolutely.
that set the target, right?
Absolutely. And you have to be optimistic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
But not everybody is optimistic,
No,
though. The average
no.
person
No,
isn't.
every experience I've ever had where I've failed,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it that way.
No.
Yeah.
I've learned from it.
No.
Yeah.
It's a success. It's making me who I am today.
Mhm.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess it's
Okay.
definitely personal.
It is personal.
All right, so changing gears, right? So Florida is ground zero right now for immigration,
Huge.
Huge.
right?
Huge.
Has running a business made you more sympathetic to today's immigrants, or it makes you more aware of immigration laws and rules? And does it matter to you?
So his business, he doesn't really deal with any of that.
No.
Mhm.
I have a business in Maryland, Virginia, D.C., where I have a lot of immigrants who work for me.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. And we have family,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Because we're Cuban.
Yeah.
And we have family members who came during the Biden administration who are here now.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very touchy subject.
It is.
Very.
I don't believe in open borders.
Yeah.
We can't have it.
No, you
I
can't.
believe in immigration.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I think people need to be vetted. So I
Mhm.
feel there are a lot of great people
Absolutely.
who want to succeed and want to grow and want to and would be an asset to this country.
Yeah.
For 100%. So it's very touchy. I think it's, again, why did I say people to be vetted? I think it's on an individual person basis.
Yeah.
Every case is different. Every
1,000%.
situation is different. But yeah, absolutely. I mean,
You have to have some sort of a system.
humans make me sympathetic, right? People. I'm sympathetic just about
Of
people.
course.
I get it.
And
But
we understand the
can't
struggle.
have open borders. That I
No,
Yeah,
I know.
I,
At all,
I
period.
understand the need for necessity, right?
Mhm.
But when you come here and you're naive and you just think that you're gonna get and not give, that's not how you're gonna grow. You need to water your roots,
Yeah.
right? You need to contribute to the society that you're coming to.
Right, even from our culture. So I guess what he's trying to say is from our Cuban culture, you get different types of immigrants too.
Yeah.
You.
So we have people who come from Cuba
Mhm.
that we know that are, good people, work hard. But you're talking about the other what Americans don't understand. We're very naive in this country.
Yeah.
These are all different universes. They're like other planets.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
They are.
so
Yeah.
these people come from another planet.
Yeah.
They've lived in a country, for example, that's been communist for 60 years.
Mhm.
So it's not their fault.
Mhm.
They come here. They've never worked. They don't know what a 9 to 5 is. They
That's
play
an
dominoes.
interesting perspective. Wow.
Well, it's the truth.
Yeah.
They play dominoes all day. They drink rum all day. That's all they do. So now you want them to work a 9 to 5? Ain't gonna happen.
Structure, order,
Really?
you can't implement that
Of course not.
overnight.
You can't go to Cuba and put a grocery store. You go to Cuba now, you put a grocery store, by 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, it's empty. And you don't have $1 in the cashier. They stole it all.
Yeah.
Can you blame them? That's all they know. So you want them to come here and work a 9 to 5? They're not going to. They all want to drive a Benz.
Yeah.
Everybody wants more, well, because then now you have YouTube and hip hop and reggaeton, right?
Yeah.
So everybody wants to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
So you want to drive the Benz, you want the Rolex, it's not like when my grandma came, where they worked and they came and they saved and
Yeah.
It's a
No,
different
no,
system.
People are different. It's a different system. It's been communist for 60 years. And I'm just talking about my country.
No, that's such an interesting perspective because I mean, especially for me, like being an immigration attorney, but also being Jamaican, where it's the opposite, where
Right.
everybody
Jamaica's
there has
different.
like 3 jobs.
Jamaica's different.
They come in here,
a
they
different
have 5
system.
jobs.
Yeah.
You know,
So
so
that's why I said it's a different planet.
that's a
Jamaica's a
unique-
planet. Cuba's a planet.
that's a unique
So just like
perspective.
when Trump said, let's get a little
Yeah.
political.
It's
When
fine.
Trump said that the Haitians were eating the dogs and the cats and
Mhm.
and people were like, oh my God, it's so crazy. I said, why is it crazy?
It's
That's
not racist.
normal.
It's normal.
I'm from Miami. I grew up with Haitians.
Yeah.
I'm not insulting anybody. They just came off the island. It's normal to eat a dog or a cat. It's
And
normal.
they were eating dogs and cats in Miami?
Yeah.
Where in Miami?
And iguanas and pigeons. In
They-
Cuba,
of course they
Cuba
do.
they eat
And in
pigeons.
Cuba, look,
They didn't? Yeah.
Cubans.
Mhm.
In Cuba, you go, beef in Cuba is illegal. It's been illegal for years.
Yeah.
It's like selling cocaine in this country. They catch you with beef, you're going to do 30 years in prison in Cuba.
Really?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So what do? At night, they go into the farms and they'll cut a leg off a cow to take it, to steal it on the black market in Cuba. Or a horse,
Wow.
right? So horse meat in this country is illegal, right?
Yeah.
So in Miami, there's an area called horse country, right?
Mhm.
When the Cubans got here, the new Cubans got here, and they found out that horse meat was $25 a pound, $30 a pound, they were going into horse country and chopping the forelegs off of your $40,000, $50,000 horse.
Because they don't know how much a horse is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They don't know the horse was 40, 50 grand. They don't care. They just know they're about to make $5,000 off the four horses' legs. Yeah. And they were doing it. Of course, but why would you be in shock?
You didn't do your research.
Why do people get shocked? Is what I'm saying. I'm not talking. I'm not insulting nobody.
No.
It's facts.
I mean,
it's facts.
When you get briefed. You know, if I'm gonna go to a new country, if I'm gonna go to a school, if I start a new job, you get briefed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's
you
why
know,
people
nobody gets briefed anymore.
Nobody gets vetted. Yeah. When my grandfather came from Cuba in 1979, he was interviewed like 7 times before they let him in.
Mhm.
But I want to know who you are. What are your political views? What do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Who's your family? Where do your kids go to school? They want to know who you are.
Of course.
So it should be. Yeah.
So, all right. So the Cuban community,
Mhm.
as we're in it right now, it swings politically, right?
Absolutely.
Has entrepreneurship made you question any Cuban American stereotypes?
Cuban American stereotype. The problem is there's so many different generations of Cubans that are all different.
Okay.
So Cubans from 30 years ago are not the Cubans from 15 years ago, are not the Cubans from 10 years ago, are not the Cubans from now.
Yeah.
So Cuban stereotypes, definitely Cubans have always been ambitious.
Yeah.
That's definitely a stereotype.
Figure it out.
And it's true.
Yeah.
Very ambitious. And I think it comes from that, right? It comes from not having, and you get here and you see opportunity and you want it and you go for it, however means necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're not afraid to be broke, right?
Yeah.
You're not afraid to go hungry. You've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the worst that can happen? You get food stamps. At least you get food stamps here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there are. Yeah.
Interesting. So there was a big thing for like the Cuban Americans, especially in Miami, right? Know that President Trump has ended like the humanitarian parole for Cubans.
Yep.
Right. What's your thoughts on that?
So my opinion on that is complex as well. I think, it sucks because you can't fix the world because everybody has different views, right?
Yeah.
What people don't understand is that there's repercussions for the ways you think.
Yeah.
People don't get it. Cuba used to be a beautiful country,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful system. There was people against it,
Yeah.
right? Then you have the flip. There's people who, could you imagine, you're leaving the country, right? And your peers, your neighbors are throwing eggs at you, throwing rocks at you, hitting you with sticks because you're leaving. And then 10 years later, they're here.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to, I think
Accept.
I think
a
coming
hard
from
pill
those
to
countries
swallow.
creates like a thick skin on you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you start losing faith in certain things.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I think the embargo's always been bull. It's always been bull.
Yeah.
Right? There's plenty of things that go. It's not. There's no warships around Cuba not letting things in.
Yeah.
That's bull crap.
Yeah.
That's the story that the Cuban government tells its people to keep them the way they have them.
Yeah.
They blame the U.S., the evil U.S.
Yeah.
I think what happens, like other countries, right? You have to figure it out. You got to fight for your own country,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So if you just let them come, if you just give them refuge, if you just give, then nothing will ever change.
Mhm.
Yep.
People have to pick up sticks and gun and rocks and whatever you can. You got to fight the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm torn between that.
Interesting. So do you think Cubans should join the line just like everybody else? Or they should have?
Nowadays, yes.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think anybody's politically persecuted anymore like they used to be in Cuba.
Interesting.
No, not how it used to be. Are there a few people that probably like 2 years ago on TikTok there was a movement in Cuba, and there's a couple people who
I actually saw that. Yeah.
can be proven
Yeah.
that were persecuted who have disappeared. We don't know where they are.
Yeah.
Those people, yes. Those
Okay.
people should be. I mean, how are we going to get them? I don't know, right? Because
Yeah.
now who knows where they're at.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if you can prove that you were an activist and you were fighting and you were,
Mhm.
then we should let you in.
I like that. Your perspective is objective and balanced.
Absolutely, 100%.
I like that.
But just because you're Cuban,
No.
I don't mean just because you're Cuban don't
No.
mean you could have been in Cuba snitching on the guy next door who is the guy who is politically,
Exactly.
and then we're letting you in.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. So changing gears, right? Your brothers have a great relationship, and I'm actually jealous because I'm an only child. And
Oh,
I've always
okay.
said,
Wow.
I've always said, man, I wish I had like a brother to come up
Right.
with and do business
It's a beautiful
with.
thing.
What do you think is the advantage and the disadvantage in business with a brother?
Definitely what he said earlier. You can't be in two places at once.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no bigger trust than this one right here.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk about loyalty and trust,
Yeah.
this here is blood.
Yeah.
So I can't be everywhere at once. So he can be where I can't be.
Yeah.
He has talents that I don't have,
Mm-hmm.
and I have
Vice
things that,
versa.
that he doesn't have.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a great team and a great duo.
Okay. And what?
You're two people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what would you say the disadvantages?
Emotions,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but even though we don't really argue.
Yeah.
I've never. Yeah.
But the disadvantage,
Little
I don't-
stupid things like,
Yeah.
should we paint the wall red? No, I think blue.
yeah,
That's
but,
it.
But that even in business, when you have a partner, right? You
Yeah.
got to learn when you nudge forward and when you step back.
Exactly.
Right, in any
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
So I don't think there is any disadvantages.
What would your advice be to that entrepreneur who wants to do business with a family member? Because not everybody has the same experience
Be weary.
Yeah.
And be
that
careful.
you guys have. Yeah.
Only because it depends on how important is that person to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because like we said, right, one of the risks is you can lose people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think just depending on how important that person is to you, do you want to risk it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to risk it? And then I think it's up to you to have the common sense and can you have a business relationship with that person?
Yeah.
Because even though you love them, you have a great relationship, once you turn into business, it could be different.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think if you don't have to, don't. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I would say.
So how do you resolve like business conflicts? Like, do you stick to the four borders of the contract, or it's just handshake love?
Yeah, ain't no contract.
Yeah. I've
Okay.
never believed in a contract.
No, it's,
Okay.
it's
I'm
love.
now learning about contracts because
Yeah.
it's true. You should protect yourself. I mean, all that
Between both of you, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The contract is blood.
Okay.
You're bound to
With
me
other
forever.
people.
Yeah.
But with other people.
Yeah, but I think it's that, right? I think just knowing your place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Everybody has a place. Not everybody can be CEO.
No.
Somebody's got to be CFO.
Mhm.
And I think that's a big problem that a lot of people who just achieve success, but they're going into partnership or they're scaling, is some people don't want to take a step back. Like they always believe, hey, I got to be the CEO. I will never be the
Yes.
co-star.
That that won't get you far either.
Yeah.
You're always going to have limitations because
Yeah.
you have to know your attributes.
Absolutely.
I know what I'm good at, and I know my flaws,
Mm-hmm.
and I know what he's good at, and I know his flaws.
Mhm.
So and we know them, and we talk about them.
I think that's
You
the
know?
biggest thing between
Honesty, man. You
yeah.
you got to have
Honesty.
communication and honesty.
communication. Yeah. We talk about everything. Even if it's something where, do we really need to talk about it? Yeah. Just get it
I'm
out
gonna
there.
get emotional. All right.
Yeah.
Man, I don't wanna
You have to
that
do
right
it.
now.
You have to do it. You have to talk about it. You
Yeah,
have
of
to be
course.
clear
Of course.
because when you make decisions, there's families at stake.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Give us one underrated tool or mindset that has saved your business during a time of chaos.
For me, it was really good customer service.
Okay.
I believe a lot in customer service. Our dad always taught us, whether you're talking with the CEO or the maid, you treat them the same.
1,000%. My dad told me the same thing.
So I think in a moment of chaos, when you have 2-3 customers mad, and then you're in the middle of trying to do a deal, and you're in the middle of talking to him, and I think just having customer service with my customers, making them happy, and trying to not delay but prolong the chaos to where I can think and buy myself a little time. For me, it's always been customer service.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
So like I told you the story, just consistency. Even though because we're human. Even if I've broken down, I'm spiritually beaten, and I want to give up. That persistence, that consistency, that inner scream of man up and go do what you got to go do, has saved my businesses.
I think
Like the story I told you where I was sitting in the car, that's happened to me multiple times.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get off.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go and deal with this person.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to.
Absolutely.
Has saved my business, yeah.
I think a tool of me thinking that I've wanted to use, but I haven't had the opportunity to use,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think you have either, I think is isolation.
Oh, I've thought about it.
I think
Yeah.
true isolation, most people won't admit it.
Yeah.
It might come off from a place of weakness, but for you to step away and
Yeah.
truly isolate yourself
Yeah.
for a moment,
Like for a moment, or a day, or 2 days. What do you mean?
some people, well, for a moment, however long you need to collect yourself.
Oh, I've
but
done that in the car, but I'm saying like isolation of like go
mental
take a 2-day
isolation.
trip with
Yeah,
no phone, with
mental isolation.
Yeah.
Some people won't attest to it.
Yeah.
Some people may not.
Because you have to face yourself.
That's the biggest challenge.
You
is
know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And most people won't admit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most people don't understand that the first battle that you got to win every day is the one in your head.
Absolutely.
And if you can't beat that, like that's the first L. That's gonna be a contagious L.
Absolutely.
All right. So if your businesses were to burn down tomorrow, right? What's one lesson you'd want to be etched in your kids' hearts or your family?
That I got up and went again.
Mhm.
That it didn't scar me.
Yeah.
That it didn't phase me, and that their dad got up, brushed it off, and we went and did it again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
100%, no fear.
I
Mhm.
love that.
100%.
I'll
love
try
that.
and I'll try and I'll try
hmm
until I can't try anymore.
That's it.
I love that. If you could go back to your 18-year-old selves
hmm
and you could say one thing, like you get this opportunity, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Invest in Apple. Buy Apple stock.
Oh man.
Definitely invest in the stock market
Yeah.
sooner. Money, save money.
Mhm.
Don't buy that bottle at the club. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
things
yeah,
like
yeah.
that is what I would tell myself. Definitely.
How about you?
Trust your circle and trust yourself.
That's good. That's good. All right. And then the last question, right, for that entrepreneur that isn't at your level, isn't at your chapter yet, what would your advice be? Entrepreneur and or business owner.
For me, I made a reel one time when I did take about 45 minutes of isolation. I came to the conclusion that you will be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. I think we're stuck on trying to control our outcome that
Mhm.
you don't really look at where you're standing.
Yeah.
Your base of where you are is what you can handle, and you will progress when you can handle more. But just because you're not at my level, I'm not at the level that I want to be, and the person ahead of me is not where they want to be. So accepting your situation, being proud of where you are, and knowing that you're making the steps towards where you want to go, I think is what you should appreciate.
I would
Awesome.
say, look at yourself. What are you afraid of? Get out of your comfort zone
Mm-hmm.
and get out there and do what you're not doing.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that is that you know you're afraid of doing,
Mm-hmm.
limits you,
So you should be
shake
doing.
it and go do it.
Let's
Yeah.
go for it.
If your problem is you're afraid to be in front of a camera, you need to get in front of that camera.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If your problem is you don't like to socialize with certain people, you need to go out there and socialize with those people. Whatever it is that you're afraid of
Mm-hmm.
is what's holding you back to jump to that next level. Go do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go get in that uncomfortable zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Get out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because until you do, you're just gonna cruise where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Chris and Michael, I appreciate you, man. This was
Oh,
this
man,
was
we had a blast.
amazing.
We had a
I learned so much
I
from
loved
you
it,
guys.
man.
This was
Thank
good.
you, sir.
Thank you so much for coming, man.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
I
having me.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.